So I'm going to go ahead and actually get started and welcome you all to the Arts Forum here at First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston. We have a very special Arts Forum where this particular Sunday, and our Arts Forum is centered around linking social justice and the arts. And so I'm going to introduce Dr. Howard Bosson to talk with you all. And then we have a special guest artist from Poland we're really excited about. Oh, that's from Czechoslovakia. Czech Republic, I guess I'm not a good historian. Well, I'm a pretty good historian. I'm not a good geography, is it? Geography? There it is. There you go. She flew here all the way from Europe. There we go. All right. Dr. Bosson. It's daylight savings. We're having a little technical problems. He will be with you shortly.
Okay. So, is this thing live here? Yes. It is. All right. Let me pull this around. It's between us here. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. So, good morning. Today we are welcoming a very special guest, Libuše Jarcovjáková. As many of you may remember, was featured in our 2022 FotoFest Participating Spaces exhibition. Her exhibition was picked up by FotoFest for presentation in this year's 2024 biennial, which opened last night at Silver Street Studios in Sawyer's Yards in the Art District. She is one of 24 artists that are featured from around the world in that exhibition. And you can see that work until April 21st. Libuše is a photographer and educator. Her exhibition, Evocative, garnered international acclaim in 2019. Since then, her work has been exhibited throughout Europe and covered in many European magazines and newspapers. Her books include Sene Roca, The Black Years from 2017, Evocative from 2019, which was shortlisted for the Paris Photo Aperture Photo Book Awards, Supersonico from 2023, and the forthcoming Tea Club that provides a unique insight into the wild underground life of the legendary LGBTQ plus bar. Libuše is a pioneer of the personal documentary style of photography. Her work is about her life experiences. She is both the observer and the observed. Her work is empathetic and compassionate, as well as hard-hitting and unsparing. She is also a diarist whose words provide further insights into her photographs. The documentary film about her life and work, I'm Not Everything I Want to Be, had its world premiere in mid-February at the Berlinale Film Festival in Berlin. Marion Schmidt, in a setup to an interview with Libuše, said, quote, "I'm Not Everything I Want to Be feels like a huge gift to female artists everywhere and is a triumph of a challenging but completely fitting form. What emerges is an incredible homage to the film's protagonist and her life, a life that oftentimes displayed a trajectory where so many convergences of the political and personal collided in surreal and evocative ways." I'm going to show you the trailer to the film and then turn our session over to Libuše. And I hope the sound is enough, loud enough.
Mám pocit, že toho v životě můžu dokázat hodně, ale mám strach, jestli to neprofláknu. Učím se fotit. Chci být fotografka. Uprostřed léta přijeli ruské tanky. Mám strašný strach z toho, co přijde. Na umění teď stejně není vhodná doba, říká mi máma. Ale proč bych nemohla žít tak, jak já chci? Musím něco udělat. Jdu si věn naplňující prázdno, kličkování totalitou. Je tohle to, co chci? Musím někam zmizet. Vytvářím záznam své osobní zkušenosti. Potřebuju se ujistit, že existují. Ale co můžu ukázat světu? Kdo jsem?
So, the film, as I said, premiered at the Berlinale Festival. It is now starting to make the rounds of film festivals in Europe. It's going to be at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York. Might be. And we are hoping to bring both the film and Libuše to Houston sometime in the next year to have a showing of the film here. With that, I'm going to turn the session over to Libuše. Yes, we can switch.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for invitation and for the opportunity to introduce a little bit myself and to show you something from my work and from my life. This is the way. Yeah, I start with the. My parents both were painters, and I don't have a lot of photos from my childhood, but I have a lot of paintings. So that's me as a kid, and I have a very happy childhood. When I was 19, I finished the high school, and I went to the factory to work as a worker, and spent there almost 4 years. It has special reason, but it's not simple to explain why, but it was a very good experience for me. There are several photos from Prague from 70s and 80s, and you can see this is somehow gray city with no pleasure, with no fun. We were really living in a very specific society. Because of the political oppression and because of all these influences, they try to not kill us, but not to allow us to live. But I was young, I was pretty adventurous, and I have no fear to follow my own way. So I did. From very young years, my personal documentary, I was involved a lot of minorities of Czechoslovakia at that time, like Roma people, Gypsies, also Vietnamese, and I visited them, I was the part of their society, and it was for me very important to make documentary of these people which were on the edge of the society at the time. It's very typical. And one day I was brought by my friend to the gay club in Prague, and it was the early 80s, and I didn't know at the time it's something as vivid and as full of joy and as full of freedom. So I started to visit this club, and it took me almost 1 year before I was allowed to taking pictures there, because first I need to develop some friendships, and the people have to trust me. And the whole time I did these photographs, I used the flashlight just to be seen. I didn't want to do any photos from something like stealing and I needed to have some aloneness. I needed to be accepted. So
When you say flashlight, you mean an
electronic flash, yes. So at the beginning, I didn't like these pictures too much because I thought it's too theatrical and too dramatical and sorry. But with the time, it's happened that it's only documentary in the whole East Europe from this time and from this society. And this is few photos from my life in the 80s. I loved always some bizarreness and surreal. I think we Czech are pretty much surreal, and we love the special situation. And this is, for example, for me, very important photo because I love all these patterns from the socks and the snake and also the cartoons. So. And this is also a little bit bizarre situation because this is my partner, and we were visiting one friend in Berlin, and he told us there is a bathroom, and it took us 3 days before we found it. And it was in the chimney, so a really big mystery. I personally like this photo because it's just also very absurd. The children are waiting for this opportunity to make some jumps. And this is space of my very, very dear friend. She died recently. And their children told me their mother hated Christmas as much as possible, and they have had this Christmas tree the whole Christmas in the tub. And it was another very dear friend of mine, Michael, who died in 90s on AIDS, and I miss him every day because he was a very important person, very clever person in my life. I was living a very pretty nice, comfortable life in Prague, even it sounds a little bit strange, but when I was around 30, I have the feeling I'm living just only. My life was from one pub to another, and no development, no challenge. So I decided to move to Germany, and this Michal helped me a lot. It was difficult to get aloneness, really very difficult, and I came there 85, and I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand the system. I didn't understand the responsibility, the own responsibility, because we grew up in the society. You have your line and your obligation, and that was. So it took me. I didn't speak German at the time. I didn't. I have several friends. They moved in between out from Berlin. So I was pretty much depressed in the beginning, and it took me several years before I settled down. Step by step, I learned to live in this very special city, divided from, you know, living there, you didn't know if you are in cage or outside of cage, because the wall was omnipresent, and you could just only. It was very strange, and the photos from this is the rest of some station in Berlin which was bombarded and destroyed. It doesn't exist anymore. And this is Reichstag. This nowadays it's the parliament of the Germany. For me, it's this photo very significant. Yeah? It's the symbol how the city was cut down into different parts, not having any connection actually. And I spent there, the first years were really hard, and I built somehow step by step the stone steps, and I learned language. I have step by step I got some job, and I learned to survive and then to live. And suddenly was year 89, and the domino was starting to fall down, starting in, this is the fall of the wall, one photos which symbolize the whole action. And in few days, the same process began in Czechoslovakia at the time, so I could move back, and slowly after I moved definitely outside from Germany back to Prague. And I started my career as a teacher, and I started very important relationship with my wife. And it was also the reason why I moved out from Berlin as quickly. And a new period of my life started again. And there, the rest, what I want to show you, it's very emotional for me. My mother got the heart attack, and she was disabled. I was together with my sister, we took 24/7 care of her, and it was so important. But at the beginning, doing this, I felt really entrapped, because day after day was the same routine, the same procedure. My mother has very good mentality, and she stayed to be very friendly. She was kind of child, but not so, we could communicate pretty well. And one day I decided to make a documentary of our mutual life, and I use it for this iPhone, because she was, as a painter, she loved colors, and she loved really vivid colors. So I did this documentary during the 2.5 years she was on still. And we managed, she started drawing with her left hand, and it was really beautiful for her, because she has suddenly something very important for her. And she loved to have a glass of wine in the evening. And we managed to bring her during the summer to our country house, and there were grandchildren from my partner, and we spent really nice time. And this is one of the almost last photos. And this is really the last one when she was already dying, and this is my nephew who came to say goodbye. So that's all. And this movie, which comes one day probably to Houston, it's built from 3,000 photos, only photos, and my commentary, which was done by the taken from my diaries. This is my voiceover, which is a little bit funny for me, but anyway. And the movie was screened in West Berlin, in Berlin now during the Berlinale, and there were 4 screenings for big cinemas, always 300, 400 people. It totally sold out. And I was afraid it's boring, just only the photo. But nobody has this feeling because it was so vivid. The photos, it is not actually a slideshow. They made it really very dynamical and very, and the people were also crying there because sometimes was it too strong, too hard, and then again the fun and the same as life is, and the same as my life is and was, and I hope it will be. I will get some more years because I'm working a lot till now. I'm teaching in a university, and I am trying to be as active as possible. And I am very happy to have this wonderful friend, Howard, who brought me, and also Colin, and it's for me big, deep experience to share with you my work. So if you have some questions, I'm ready. I am teaching in one very beautiful new university, something like 100 kilometers outside from Prague. It's University of Western Bohemia. I am head of photographic department. We have around 40 excellent students, and I love it. It's really beautiful. They are so enthusiastic and so really. It brings me a lot being the teacher, because I'm trying not to teach the photography or only photography, but also I hope I'm helping them to be better people, better human beings. This is my vision.
So in Berlin in 1989, how was the word being spread around for people to start filling the streets as the days before cell phones? And
it was. This is maybe the same strong experience like Russian coming to Czechoslovakia in '68, and also these days after the wall was falling down. It was so full of emotions, and the city was suddenly full of 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 East German people. They came just like they were suddenly in the middle of the dream, and the whole city was in fog from this Eastern German cars, Trabant, so you couldn't see because it's all very smelly fog, but the people were so It's something what you can't forget forever, because it was. And then few days after this was the same or very similar situation in Prague as well. And I tried to be as quickly as possible in Prague, but I couldn't move through Berlin because it's so full. It was so full, so finally I took flight because nobody was flying from Berlin. So, and I can't forget it. It was really very emotional. So I don't know if I understood pretty well your answer. Is it more or less?
What, in your work, you were documenting these things and being in these places at these amazingly, historical moments. Did you find that in the moment that was happening, that your art and other artists' work were informing people, or was it more like after the fact? I'm not sure if I'm articulating my question well.
Yeah, I suppose I understand pretty well. I was used to work without sharing and without any audition, because when I was young, I was absolutely outsider, out of all system and out of society, because I didn't want to collaborate with the system. And just only because of my inner energy, inner machine, let's say, I did this work all the time. And I was not trying to share it because it was time before internet, before Instagram. So I felt it's important. It's something what I have to document, but I didn't want what's happened after this. And I have to say till let's say 2015, I was absolutely unknown. Really nobody knew my work till that times. And I have a lot of colleagues from Czechoslovakia who are here in the FotoFest, for example, and they have their presentation in some galleries. I was nobody. And now I'm 72 now already. So it came, and I am something like a small star, let's say, at least in Czechia, in the Europe. And suddenly it has everything sense what I have done. So it's really big luck for me to have the opportunity to show it as whole. So I did it really very passionately, very with the enthusiasm, but I didn't know what comes from this.
Let me make a quick comment and then have time for a question. So Libuše's work, as you can see, is very personal, and it's very different from the mainstream thread of sort of documentary photography, which is almost exclusively outer directed. I'm going to, show you some situation as a documentary photographer. I'm going to remain outside of it but be the observer. With most of Libuše's work, she is the sort of consummate insider. It's about her experiences, her life. There's no pretense that I'm being this objective person studying something, to present to a wider public. And I know you have a question. We just have a couple minutes, so I'm going to stop there.
So you talked earlier about how, while you were taking a lot of these photos, you weren't not really collaborating with anyone. It was a very personal experience. But I'm imagining that when this film came about, that you had to take some sort of like a role in collaborating with these filmmakers. Can you talk about that collaboration?
At that time I became pretty much popular, and I got so many offers from young documentary directors, and I was so skeptical because I didn't feel anything. And then one day came this director of a young lady around 40, and it took me for several weeks before I remember her face and her name. But one day I felt it's the right person. I could open all my archive, all my diaries, everything, because I felt she's understanding me. She knows. She has very similar vibration, and it was wonderful. It took 5 years. They were 2 years just by cutting. They did. It was really, and there is also excellent original music and sounds. So it was a huge work, and I have, thanks God, I have no day I could regret this collaboration. So it was really good. It's happened something very good.
We are out of time.
Thank you.
Chatting